IBM.
We would like to thank HDFC Life Insurance for supporting this show. HDFC Life Insurance has created an online video series called Behind the Journey with some of the most interesting people from the creative and entertainment industry. It explores the stories that are behind the glitz and glamour of the spotlight and screaming fans. Let's listen to a snippet from the episode featuring actor Jitendra Kumar.
इनिशियली जब मैं बहुत ऐसे कुछ चीज नहीं वर्क कर रही है एक्टिंग में तो मैं बहुत पैनिक कर जाता था. तो काफी लोग मुझे सलाह देते थे कि नहीं मतलब उतना पैनिक मत कर, मतलब धीरे धीरे ग्रो करेंगी चीजें. तो जिस तरह से तुम्हारा काम धीरे धीरे ग्रो करता है, एक दिन में नई चीजें मिलती हैं. आई थिंक तुम्हारा जो फाइनेंशियल साइड है उस पर भी तुम्हें ध्यान देना चाहिए और वो भी धीरे धीरे डेवलप होता है. वो भी एक दिन में नहीं होता और वो होने लगता है.
As Jeetu said, steady growth is a good sign for both your finances and the journey of your dreams. You can watch all episodes of Behind the Journey on the HDFC Life Insurance YouTube channel, youtube.com/HDFC. Take control of your personal goals with HDFC Life Insurance's financial solutions. Plan now with HDFC Life Insurance.
Terms and conditions apply. HDFC Life Insurance Company Limited, IRDAI registration number 101.
Hi, I'm Zarina Poonawala, a life coach, a business mentor, and a motivational speaker. I tackle the challenges that come with varied work cultures, and I try to give out some cheat codes for loving your job in the second season of the Empowering series with me, Zarina. This show will feature live sessions with me and a participant, most likely to be an entrepreneur, a startup founder, an employee, a recruiter, or just about anyone who strives to love their job and looks forward to bringing in a positive shift at their workplace. On today's episode of the Empowering series, I'm in conversation with a dynamic content and influencer marketing lead of Diageo India. So please welcome Khushboo Benani.
Hey everyone. Hi Zarina.
Hi Khushboo. Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for having me here.
All right, so let's quickly deep dive into how this journey actually began for you, Khushboo, and what is it that got you into the branding space?
I think it's been an interesting journey. I've been working for 15 years. Mm-hmm. So if I were to go back like in time and say 15 years, what inspired me to do what I do is I think as a kid, I used to love reading stories.
Okay.
I mean, like literally I had my 10th board exams and I would still have like a couple of books hiding, under the bed, and then my mom will come looking for them.
Okay.
So it was as bad as that when it came to like, stories. And I think I loved reading so much that I always believed in some form or other, I want to tell stories. When I was younger and didn't know better, I thought I'll write books.
Oh.
Then I gave it a shot. I never got beyond 2 pages.
But that's still an untapped talent.
It's something at some point I now see myself like, retired 60-year-old living on a farm trying to write a book. But yeah, it's like parked for the future.
Okay.
But I think the desire to tell stories came from there. And I think some of the choices I've made through my careers have been reflective of that. Like, for example, I spent, a few years working for big cinemas.
Oh, lovely.
And it was beautiful sitting, in the middle of, Film City.
Right.
In Goregaon.
Yeah.
And actually seeing stories come to life all around you. I spent a significant amount of my career doing PR, where it is about telling stories through media.
Right.
And now I do content, which is much more interesting way of telling stories in, new media.
Right. So you've always been a storyteller, basically.
I've always wanted to be a storyteller. Yeah. I don't know whether still I've made it as a storyteller or not.
I think maybe an unconscious or rather subconscious part of you has always been a storyteller.
Absolutely.
And maybe the channel of your profession has only helped you to grow in storytelling in a way?
Yeah.
You could say that?
Yeah.
Okay, that's pretty cool. But tell me this, there has been a change in the end. There's been a transition from a lot of traditional marketing into digital marketing. The whole space is changing and there's a constant evolution taking place on the work front first. So what's your take on that?
So I think it's a time when, every 3 years I feel things are changing. So if you think like a decade back when Facebook had just launched and we were just getting over Orkut, which I'm sure like Gen Z doesn't even know what it is about. At that point, people said, oh, we need to figure out how to work with Facebook.
Right.
And I think it took people like good 5 years before they figured out. And then suddenly you had like Instagram and WhatsApp. And now then there came Snapchat, then came TikTok. And it's not just that these platforms are creating new ways to advertise.
Okay.
But every platform is today creating a new way that, people are engaging with it. TikTok's all about UGC.
Right.
So, and that means that as marketeers, you have to keep adapting, learning. In fact, podcast is something new.
Yeah.
I think it's a very interesting space to watch out. Like, I don't think people were talking about podcasts like 2 years back.
That's the funny part, because I started podcasting in 2017.
Wow.
Okay. I mean, with IBM. Our first season happened in 2017. And after that, when I used to tell people, I podcast, or I have, you should go and check this out and listen to this. And they'll be like, what is podcast? And then you're like, oh, there's no video. I'm like, no, this is to listen, okay? People have actually, podcast is helping people again to get into the space where your filtered content is being listened to, and there's patience. Because otherwise it's not there. Otherwise, you're like, all over the place. And podcasting is really something that has started interesting people.
And it's almost like, instead of listening when you're doing that long commute of yours and stuck in traffic, instead of listening to radio, which has like thousands of ads playing on it.
Right.
You might as well just pick a podcast you want to, you are curious enough about, and spend time listening to and learn something out of it.
Yeah.
So I think all these things are changing how marketeers want to talk to consumers.
True.
And it's about keeping yourself up to speed and being able to actually experiment, learn, grow with these platforms.
Right. So, yeah, that's on the work front. Let's get into a little understanding of who Khushboo is, because I'm pretty sure, you have made your own stature, you have made your own space in your professional areas, in your industry. People know you in your field. And I believe that, having your own credibility is something that one can only rely on themselves for. So how have you been building that? And I'm pretty sure my listeners would be interested in knowing who Khushboo is as a person. So let's break it down for you, if that makes it easy. Otherwise, it will become an interview question like, who are you?
Yeah.
Something about you.
Describe yourself.
And where do you see yourself 5 years from now? And yeah, sell me that pen.
Yeah.
Maybe. All right. No, just basically as a person, what are the things that make you happy?
I think good conversations.
Oh, beautiful.
And that's why I like doing podcasts.
Great. I hope this is making us happy.
So absolutely. I think good conversation, meeting interesting people, along the way. And generally, I think having, people be good to you and you be good to others.
Yeah.
I think that's what keeps me going.
So you're a very people's person in a way?
Yes. Except there are a few days when I hate human beings. That's the day I like Netflix.
Okay. And what is it that interests you on Netflix then?
I think I see everything on Netflix.
Really?
I have absolutely no filters on what I like to watch and what I don't like to watch. So I will watch a game changer, but I will also watch Expanding World of Ashley Garcia with equal amount of interest.
That's pretty cool. Because I think my genre over a period of time has kind of filtered down. So I don't end up watching everything, and people tell me, you should watch this, you should watch that, and goes on and on. But Netflix is a good way to chill when you don't want to interact with people, and on the days that you don't like people so much. Yeah. Apart from that, on certain days, what is it that you don't like?
Don't like at work or don't like in personal life?
Whichever one you're comfortable talking about, or even both.
I think at work, it's like on a day when you've, walked into an office thinking, oh, there are like these 5 things that I need to do.
Right.
And by evening, you are like, oh, there are these 6 things I need to do. And the 5 I thought in the morning have not been closed. I think that's not a good day.
Right.
I think it's about saying that how do you keep moving, as like one of my brands, Johnnie Walker says, like, how do you keep walking every day? So I think that is not a good day. Personally, I think if I walk into a house and my maid's not cooked, I think that's not a good thing. It's like absolutely irrational response, not intellectual, not smart. But
It doesn't have to be.
Yeah, like, going home and having to cook is like my bane.
Really?
Yeah, I can't do it.
Wow. Yeah, I'm pretty okay with that. I think I go with the mindset that I have to go home and cook, so I don't bother so much. But I guess I know where you're coming from, especially when you're having maybe that day when you're not completing your 6 tasks and then having to go and see the maid's not there.
Yeah.
How does one of those days work? I'm pretty sure that's not a very pleasant one for you.
That's the day we will do a Swiggy plugin.
That's the day you do a Swiggy plugin. Well, having said that, things that make you happy, things that probably don't make you so happy or you dislike, on a daily basis, what is it that you keep doing, or how do you kind of drive yourself? Because I believe you're in a space which you wanted to be.
Yeah,
like we talked about
absolutely.
storytelling and you moving from big cinemas, watching these stories come alive and then going into what you're doing now. So the whole concept of you doing what you love doing, right? It comes with its own set of challenges.
It does. I think the problem is when you really love what you're doing,
Right.
is that then you want to keep doing more and more and more and more.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I'm slightly OCD. If I'm doing more, then I want to also do better and better and better.
Uh-huh.
And I think that creates a kind of a self-pressure. Nobody else is pressurizing me. In my head, I'm only pressurizing me. Oh, I've done this. Now, how do I get better next time around? And I think that kind of puts you in a bit of a self-created challenge.
Right. But does it also put you in a space of probably becoming a workaholic to an extent where sometimes people have to ask you to slow down?
See, for me, I think work is something where if I'm enjoying it, I don't really need balance, because me enjoying my work gives me my work-life balance.
Right.
So I don't consider myself a workaholic because usually I'm never in office after like 6:30.
Okay.
I'm super efficient about my day and time. So I'm usually not a workaholic, but if I'm enjoying something and if I have to spend a weekend doing it, I absolutely don't mind it.
That makes sense. Also, you're in a space where initially there may have not been too many women, right? And there would be stereotypes and stigmas surrounding things that you do and how you work in a culture full of probably maybe the other gender in general. So have you ever faced any of those challenges?
So I mean, alcohol bev as an industry historically was a significantly male-dominated industry.
Right.
But in, I think, last, say, decade, there has really been a big change. The companies have worked very hard to create policies which help women in workplace. I think the culture of the organization is also transitioning where it's becoming more and more gender blind.
Right.
So I think people are chosen based on merit and not on, hey, that's
Gender.
a guy and he would be comfortable going to a trade partner in the alcohol industry. So I think it's more about, what's your skill set? What would you be good? So I think as companies in this industry, there has been a lot of progress. Personally, I honestly love working with Diageo.
Right.
I think it's a great company in terms of culture. The company really works very hard to, create an environment for employees and especially women, where women start feeling much more empowered and comfortable.
So you have, it's nice to hear about a beautiful workspace and a good work culture. Because I guess, in our capacities, we're always constantly trying to make a certain point, make a certain change and evolve. So has work helped you to evolve as a person? I mean, when you've been transitioning from job to job or doing work with different people?
So I think every line manager I've worked with, every colleague I have worked with closely has helped me grow and become a better or a worse version of myself. Depends on case-to-case basis. But I think, when you work with somebody on a day-to-day basis and you do it for a certain amount of time, there are some aspects of their personality that you pick up. There are some things they teach you and there are some things you teach them. And I think if you have been lucky enough to work with some really good people, I think it brings a big positive, change in you as an individual.
True.
I mean, if I see myself 15 years back when I started my career, and I used to live in Ahmedabad.
Okay.
And I was the small town, middle class upbringing girl, which had a very protected upbringing, to where I am today. I think I don't recognize myself 15 years back.
Really?
And I think it has been because of the people I have worked with.
Okay.
So
when you can't recognize yourself, I mean, let me just ask you this a little off the block question. What is the advice you would give your 15-year-old back self? At the person that you were 15 years ago, the one that you can't recognize anymore, what kind of advice would you give that person? I mean, were there parts of you that you felt?
Continue to be bold, take risks.
Yeah.
Don't hesitate, and overthink in some, difficult decisions. Go with your gut.
So important.
Yeah.
The overthinking part.
Overthinking. And women overthink a lot.
They do.
Yeah.
You don't do that?
I have over the years learned not to overthink much.
Right. I kind of have a theory about this whole overthinking bit, because I realize a lot of people, when they meet you, they say, I am having troubles and I'm overthinking. But the whole overthinking aspect is a person going into a negative spiral. You're thinking and you're overthinking, but there is absolutely nothing you are trying to solve here. So instead of calling yourself an overthinker, sometimes you should call yourself a critical analyzer. When you do that,
I will use that.
Yeah, because then you start thinking of the solution. When you're overthinking, you're only problem thinking. You're not problem solving.
You're just stressing yourself out for no rhyme or reason.
And like there's this saying, I mean, if you are working, you don't need to worry. And if you're worrying, there's no time to work.
True.
So there's no point about this whole overthinking. So that's my thing. You just either call yourself a critical analyzer once in a while so that you are more of a problem solver than a problem thinker, or simply stop thinking. Now, obviously, that doesn't happen.
And problem solving, the minute you go from a problem thinking to a problem solving mindset, I think both personally and professionally, I think you start becoming happier.
So true.
Yeah.
That is so true. And
life is, if not anything else, pursuit of happiness.
So totally true. I like this conversation. It's just perfect for the empowering series, happiness. So how do you make sure that you make your day happy or people around you happy? And sometimes I'm pretty sure that there are a lot of work pressures. So as much as you love your work, maybe people around you don't want to love it as much sometimes. So how do you make sure that they're empowered and happy?
I think it's something that I have learned over the years. It's a very difficult skill set to actually, deploy. But it's as simple as telling the person who's not making you happy, saying that, dude, you're not making me happy.
Just getting straight.
Yeah, just having that honest conversation, I think makes people respect each other more.
True.
I think there is a transparency in relationship that comes in both personally and professionally. And honestly, you get happier if you are not, sitting with like 10 things on your heart saying that, oh, this is making me sad, this is making me sad. At least you told the person that, dude, you're making me sad.
Yes.
Can you please not do this? And at least the other person would be conscious enough next time to not repeat a behavior that's not making you happy.
Right. So
it's easier said than done. People find it really difficult to call out things. But I think, to me, that's the simplest way to keep yourself happy.
Yeah, I guess what you're trying to say is making sure that you're communicating the problem and being completely and utterly transparent about it. Yeah. I guess, because you don't find people being very transparent these days. And in professional spaces also, you do see this trend, because when I'm going to these MBA colleges and things, everybody wants to either tell you how to go the 3-idiot way. Okay, and I want to call it that because, the last part where Sharman Joshi is going for the job and he's being blatantly honest. So a lot of kids want to try something like that, and I'm like, you're not going to get that job. Because I was Sharman Joshi and that was 3 idiots, okay? You've got to know how to put your message across. But then there is this other extreme end where everybody wants to sugarcoat everything. Like, I can do this, I can do that. So is it important when you're kind of employing somebody, getting someone on board, or let me just rephrase this. What kind of advice would you give to people who are actually trying to take up a job? How transparent should one be? How should they actually approach a company or people when they're working with seniors?
So honestly, I think you should be as transparent as you can be.
Right.
honestly believe that if you are transparent, the other person will see a certain amount of authenticity in who you are. And authenticity is something that as a line manager, you always, respect in people you want to work with.
Sure.
Also, if the person doesn't like you, I think they are not liking you for a certain set of reasons. And maybe that's not a good fit for you in the most honest possible way. And that means that if you move on and look for another job, but don't try and sugarcoat too much. Obviously, you have to show up with like a certain amount of finesse. You cannot be like absurdly honest.
Yes.
But try and be as transparent as you can be would be my advice.
Yeah. I mean, be honest, but be tactful. It's like, get the person to do what you want them to do, but to make them think that they want to do this.
I think
they want to give you this job.
I personally really respect people who tell me that, hey, I don't know the answer to this question.
Yeah.
If you want, I will check, think it over and come back to you and drop a mail to you about it.
True.
Instead of like trying to faff their way around.
Exactly.
I think that just does not go down
then
well.
That's what I'm talking about. The other extreme set of people who sometimes, are so hell-bent on pleasing you, and then they'll end up goofing up then. So maybe that's the kind of advice you should give them, that, be honest, be transparent.
And say if you don't know something, you're not, as a human being, you will never know everything. So it's okay to sometimes say that, I don't know the answer to this question.
Of course.
And not be apologetic about it.
That's important. I think everybody apologizes too much sometimes.
Yeah. Please. I mean, we all have one life. It's not like we're getting a do-over. We should not spend our life, that one life, apologizing.
I agree. No regrets and least apologies if possible, right? How about the fact that when you're working, I want to go back to this one question that I asked you earlier about, being in a male-centric environment and things like that. If I may ask you a slightly personal question, does it sometimes, become a problem when you're growing up the ladder and getting to a space where you know yourself so well, you're ferocious, you're independent, you're feisty. Does it really become hard sometimes to find yourself a good match, somebody to match your wavelength, to partner with you in maybe a personal space?
It does. I think if you are, I'm single.
Okay.
So
this question is apt.
Yeah. So I think the more senior you get, I think your willingness to adjust and compromise keeps going down and down. Like, I tell my friends, मैं तो अपनी favorite हूँ. I mean, I really find it difficult to, at this point, change beyond what I want to do. I love my space. I enjoy being by myself. I love traveling by myself. So I think I have become like, a certain way. And I don't think it's really only about corporate. I think it's also about age.
Okay.
So, I think at a certain point in your life, you're just very comfortable with yourself.
So are you saying as you grow older, I mean, we have heard the word wiser as you grow older, but do you become also more picky or choosy with the person that you want to spend your time with your life with, if you have to?
Of course. I mean, I think what ends up happening is that the older you get, the better you get to know yourself.
True.
Okay, you have gone through a certain set of life experiences from which you have gradually started to understand yourself better and better and better.
Yeah.
And then at, a certain point in your life, if you're looking for a partner, you want somebody who is a fit for the version of you that you know very well versus a romantic notion of you had in your head when you were 20.
Right. So true.
Yeah.
And that really changes over a period of time, doesn't it?
It becomes very practical.
Yeah. It does. So if I have to ask you this regarding what you've just told me, in case if there are people and listeners out there who might, if you're interested in a relationship, then what is your criteria? What is the eligibility that the guy has to have? So all the listeners can listen more carefully. Because Khushboo is single.
I think they should be able to have a really interesting conversation with me. I think that's it.
That's it?
Yeah.
That's all you require?
Yeah. Somebody who keeps me interested enough in him, on an ongoing basis. That's it.
That's pretty nice, actually.
Yeah, I mean...
It sounds simple, but...
It's not simple.
Yeah, it's leaving somebody on eggshells, They are like, how am I supposed to keep her entertained all the time in conversation? So the people start thinking like that. Well, let's talk about you having to deal with people on a regular basis. The branding and marketing and of course, your designation, your profile. How glamorous is the job actually? Or does this, sometimes people are really interested in this whole area of work that you are, visibly doing, and they feel that it's a very glamorous area to be in.
It is. I'm not going to apologize for it.
You shouldn't.
Yeah, and I'm not going to be modest about it. I think it's a very glamorous role. But I don't think people should get into it for the glamour of it.
Exactly, yeah.
Because it's also a very, very new industry. It's a new career. It's a place where you can make a lot of mistakes if you don't understand, you don't get your hands dirty and understand, what outcomes you are seeking out of it at the beginning of it.
Right.
So all the glamour apart, I think it's an area where people who are really interested in constantly learning, it's a space that they would enjoy more than the people who enjoy the high life.
Right. Because that's temporary or rather fleeting.
And at some point you'll just get bored of it. It becomes like, oh my God, I have to go for one more party. I can't do this.
Yeah.
Honestly, I go through that like every week. I can't do this. I mean, like game face on.
So party culture and all for you. It must be like we're talking about glamour. So does it get a bit exhausting to be able to, to have to put that game face on like you mentioned?
I think now it's also at a certain point, I'm at a point in my career where I think if I don't want to go somewhere, I think people are okay. They'll just say, she's not in the mood to come.
Oh.
And I think it's absolutely okay, not going somewhere where you don't feel like you are going to have a good time.
Right.
Sometimes when you have to do it, I think I have to give myself a bit of a pep talk saying that, Khushboo, for the next 3 hours, you're going to have a lot of random conversations with a lot of random people. So please keep your game face on. So it's like self-motivating that way.
What's that one tip of networking advice you would give to people out there, or maybe more than one if you'd like, since we're talking about you having to meet people? And
I honestly think a lot of times people go to networking events and they stick to these couple of people that they know.
Right.
They don't, spread out. They don't, reach out to a lot of different people who are out there. See, if you're going for networking, do a good bloody job of networking.
Right.
And don't feel uncomfortable walking up to somebody and saying that, hey, this is what I do. I saw your tag. I think you work here. Interesting stuff you are doing. I mean, if you can manage to have a good conversation with a person, a random conversation also can become very interesting.
Yeah, it can, right?
Yeah.
We do generally land up giving people I land up giving a piece of advice on how people should network, and small talk really helps.
Small talk, and specifically if you're going to an event where a certain kind of crowd is going to be there.
Sure.
Read up a little so that you have something interesting to contribute to a conversation, and that the minute you start contributing to a conversation, it's more acceptable for people to bring you into, in a better way in a conversation.
That's true. And I think part of networking is about making sure that the other person is comfortable and you're not getting into a debatable or sensitive space in conversation when you're getting to know somebody.
Yeah.
And the problem is, I agree completely with you. People go and they get stuck to those few initial people they talk to in the beginning.
And then they say they'll just get lazy and they don't want to do it more. If you've gone to an event, you've gone to meet new people, you might as well meet as many new people as you can.
That's true. I agree. On that note, let's take a short break and we'll see you after the break.
Okay.
Hey everybody, welcome to another amazing week on the IBM Podcast Network. If you aren't following us on social media, why aren't you? We're IBM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Like to thank our sponsors this week, Paytm Money and HDFC Life. We appreciate our sponsors, and hey, this doesn't happen without them. On Paisa Vaisa, Anubhav is in conversation with PV Subramaniam, author and CEO of Subramani.com, to talk about how important it is to plan for your retirement. On Geek Fruit, Tejas Dinkar and Jishnu discuss the teaser and Batsuit reveal for the new Batman movie starring Robert Pattinson. This week on IBM Likes, Abbas, Ritika and Antariksh talk about movies with multiple plot lines that come together in the end. On Litnama, Lakshmi talks to Hardik Waghela and Mohammad Muneem from the band The Words of Aleph. They talk about how the band came to be and more. On Football Football, the guys talk about Liverpool qualifying for the Champions League, City getting banned from it, and Arsenal thrashing Newcastle for a 4-0 win. On Postcards from Nowhere, Utsav shares some dark truths about Indian food. On the Filter Coffee podcast, Karthik is joined by CEO and founder of the My Child app, Harsh Sangra, to discuss this journey of his startup. On Ganatantra, host Saryu and Alok speak with Professor Chandan Gowda about Karnataka politics and history. On Beyond Cliché, Almas is joined by the Mahi Way actor Pushti Shakti to talk about beauty beyond size. On the Pragati podcast, Pawan is joined by Avinish Ambale, who sheds light on what is artificial intelligence and how do we learn what we learn. On Simplified, Chuck, Naren and Tony talk about stoicism. And with that, let's get you back to your show.
Welcome back to the Empowering series with me, Zarina, and I'm still in conversation with Khushboo. Hi, Khushboo, welcome back.
Thank you.
So
it's been a good conversation so far.
I know, it's been great. We were talking about small talk a little before.
Yeah.
We took the break and we have gone way beyond small talk. And considering you like good conversations and they make you happy, I'm pretty sure this is going to end on a happy note for you.
Yes, I think
Fingers
it's been
crossed.
a good conversation so far.
So sweet. All right. We were talking about brands also. We're talking of, we're mixing it all up, having a conversation about your work, your life, your professional and personal space. When we talk brands, we talk storytelling. And I'd love to know, what are the campaigns closest to your heart? Your favorite ones, probably.
So actually, I would like to share the one which we just got done with. It's for Johnnie Walker.
Oh.
So it's a campaign called the Traveling Billboard, where we were trying to, so Johnnie Walker culturally wants to play in the space of travel and exploration.
Right.
Because it connects with the brand's idea of pushing boundaries and keep walking. So we were trying to find this really interesting, travel linked campaign. And we got this beautiful idea saying that, what if a billboard, instead of a person, a billboard travels to some of the most exotic locations in the country.
Wow.
And we built on it, and then we actually had a big 200 kg life-size billboard which traveled to Sangam Valley in Ladakh, went all the way underwater in Andamans.
Oh my God.
They went on a 6-hour trek to Zoko Valley and went to the deserts and dunes of Rajasthan.
Oh my God. That is no way. I mean, literally the whole billboard traveling all these places.
Yeah, it's called the Traveling Billboard. Look it up on Instagram.
Wow.
And what we did was that, we wanted it to be a very authentic people's campaign. So instead of having professional photographers just going and shooting it as a campaign, we brought in a lot of people who have a passion for travel and photography.
Okay.
And are influencers in that space on digital. And they were traveling with the billboards. And every location had a couple of people traveling. And we actually then picked their pictures as our campaign images.
Okay. So real candid captures in a way.
Yeah, and we had some beautiful shots that came out from people, and we had this little mini boats of the Traveling Billboard, which then we sent to people all across the country who, were passionate about travel and photography.
Wow.
And then they captured a lot of different places. I mean, honestly, after that campaign, I really want to see more of India.
Wow. I mean, it made you want to explore the country more.
Much more. I mean, there's so many places. I honestly, I've grown up in this country, but there are so many places in this country that I was not aware of, which, but people just shot and put up pictures and I'm like, oh man, I want to go and see this place.
So did you land up, or have you managed to see more of India after the campaign?
I went to Hawa Mahal.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. In Jaipur. It went on my to-do list after the campain. I just came back from it a couple of weeks back.
It's very beautiful. I've seen it.
It's beautiful.
And I did it solo also. So that was the fun part of it. But Hawa Mahal is beautiful. Jaipur in general is a very pretty city also.
Yes, it is.
Other places that you have really, really captured or have in your memory?
I want to go to Andamans after the billboard again. So I've dived in different parts of the world.
Okay. So you have your diving certification.
No, I need somebody to take me to the water, underwater. Push you in. So cannot do it myself. Absolutely no. But I love being in the water. I think it's my happy place.
So you're a beach baby.
Absolutely. Who wants to go to the mountains? Who wants to see the nature when you have the ocean?
Okay, that would have been me, but now I don't want to answer
right? Because they said, who wants to go like so demeaningly? So now I don't think I want to go to. I'll also go to the beach, I guess. But Andaman, yes, that sounds like a good place
So
to be.
there's this beautiful place called Johnny's Gorge. So we had the billboard, actually, we had divers take it in. And we had this brilliant photographers who went and shot it. It was like hanging above the corals.
Wow.
And we had a photographer take it, and we had like this beautiful, you have to look it up. It's a
I have to.
gorgeous video. Just look it
definitely
up on YouTube as Traveling Billboard and you'll find the video.
The traveling billboard.
Yes.
Wow. I'm definitely going to have to do that.
Yeah.
So that's one of your favorite campaigns?
Yeah.
Most memorable ones?
Yeah.
Anything else comes to your mind? That's also an amazing story.
So last IPL for one of our brands, Royal Challenge Pottering, we actually also Diageo owns Royal Challengers Bangalore, the IPL team.
Okay.
So we wanted to do something around cricket. And I think one of the interesting insights was that, people love cricket. India loves cricket. Cricket's a religion for our country.
True.
But it's only men's cricket. There is a women's team out there which is breaking records. If you see Mithali Raj's track, she is one of the most successful cricket captains. But people do not feel the same amount of love for women's cricket they feel for the men's cricket team.
True.
So the campaign was around saying that what if we had a mixed gender match and, it put both men and women on the same footing. And the idea is that people should love cricket and not just men's cricket.
Right.
So I think it was brilliant campaign. Got a great response from a lot of women cricket.
I'm not sure. I'm just asking you. Was this the one with Virat and all of them?
Yeah, it was the one where Virat was there. So there was Harmanpreet, Mithali Raj and Veda Krishnamurti.
Right.
And even though Virat is the cricket captain of the country, what we had wanted to do was that Virat's role was to be an ally and support and not be the lead.
Right.
We created the campaign from the women's perspective.
Sure. Yeah, that I remember that one. And that was beautifully done.
So that was also my campaign, which I'm like absolutely proud of because we champion progressive gender portrayal in marketing. We feel that, if as advertisers, we are spending, and marketeers, we are spending billions of dollars.
Right.
We have the right to shape culture. And if we can become more and more progressive in how, women are shown in our communication, how they are represented in our communication, then somewhere we are influencing the world and influencing culture.
That's so true. I second that completely. Since you have this, candor about you and you're very unapologetic in your nature, which I can see. I want to ask you a couple of questions, maybe just randomly, but I want you to probably share, words of wisdom, but in your unfiltered way. Okay. So your words of wisdom to newbies in brand and marketing.
Do not hesitate to pitch a great idea.
To anyone.
Like if you have to run to your CEO in the lift and say, hey, you are too old to understand this, but this is a damn cool idea. Don't hesitate to do it.
Go and do that?
Yeah, do it.
Pretty interesting. Okay. Yeah. Your words of wisdom to single ladies.
Word of wisdom to the single ladies.
Unfiltered.
Enjoy it.
Enjoy it. That leaves us with a lot of thinking. You better be a little more specific. What are you asking?
Enjoy being single. I think every moment that you are single, you absolutely can have a brilliant time. I think don't get pressurized by society in terms of like, oh my God, it's, like, oh my God, I don't have a partner. Oh my God, like my biological clock is ticking. Don't get pressurized for things like that.
Right.
Enjoy being single and wait for the right person to come for you, because when that person comes, it's worth the wait. And you have no regrets because you've enjoyed yourself.
Beautiful. All right. Words of wisdom for the society in general.
Words of wisdom for women would be expect more out of people, ask for help, don't apologize. words of wisdom for men would be better allies to women, be more better allies to, your partner, and work towards creating a better world.
So important. Words of wisdom to the bosses.
Wake up every day to make a positive difference to my life.
That is an important piece of... You should make this one an audiogram so that it can go out and she can find some change there. No, Khushboo will have some
I have a brilliant
change.
boss. I have a boss who's worked with Diageo for 20 years.
So sweet.
And she used to be in London and now she's moved for last 2 years. She's been in India and she's been a brilliant influence for me.
Excellent.
Yeah,
What have you learned from your boss?
From Julie, I have learned how to be more demanding, how to be, how to absolutely be unapologetic about things I need to say, and how to be more assertive without being aggressive.
So important.
Yeah.
See, that's a lesson everyone should learn.
Yeah.
And how do you manage to do that?
For me, honestly, it's been as simple as seeing her in action.
Okay.
And I'm going to ensure she hears this part of the podcast.
Yes, absolutely. Okay. And words of wisdom for employees?
Employees for what?
I mean, people who work with you or subordinates.
Keep challenging me, guys.
You like the challenge.
Yeah. I mean, I love when, people tell me, Khushboo, you're not required in this meeting because somebody from your team is doing a brilliant job. I mean, it gives me so much joy when I don't have to sit in meetings. And that can only happen when, my team keeps challenging, pushing, getting better and better at what they do. So absolutely, push boundaries, challenge everyone, challenge yourself, and try and become, 1% better every day.
Wonderful. And what kind of a leadership would you promote around you? You know how we have the autocratic leaders and the sort of more monarchies and, things like that.
Transparent and honest leadership.
So in a way, maybe transitional leaders, the happy leaders.
I think transparent leaders, I think if people can be just honest with each other, what makes them feel good, what does not make them good, and, have that conversation with each other without, either apologizing or, hesitating, I think it will be a brilliant place to work in.
Okay, sounds interesting. I guess your workplace is exactly like that because you seem extremely happy with your workspace.
I love working with the people I work with.
That's brilliant. So let's come to the last part of our conversation, Khushboo. And although we could keep going on, I'd love to know from you, what is it that empowers you the most?
My happiness.
And how is it spreading happiness or being happy?
Both. I think slightly more being happy because if I'm chasing my own happiness, I'm doing everything that I've talked for the last 1 hour and all those things leads to a certain amount of empowerment.
Yes.
So honestly, I'm not chasing empowerment. I'm chasing happiness.
Right. As soon as you're happy, you are empowered.
Yeah.
That's how you look at it. Excellent perspective, actually. And on that note, we're coming to the end of this conversation, Khushboo. Thank you so much for your time and your insights on everything and being so unapologetic. All the very best. And I'm going to go and check out the video of the traveling billboard.
Brilliant.
Thanks.
Thanks for having me here. Loved having this conversation.
Yeah, no?
Thanks.
Fun.
Bye.
If you liked this podcast, don't forget to check out other interesting podcasts on the IBM network. You can listen to us on the IBM Podcast app or ibmpodcast.com. You can also follow us on our social media. We are at IBM Podcasts on Twitter and Instagram.
Filter coffee is a fascinating beverage. You need to pick the right beans, blend them in the right proportion, roast them to perfection, and slow brew at the right temperature to get the perfect cup. Which is exactly like great conversations as well. You need to track down the most interesting minds, get them into their zone, and settle down for an unhurried, unscripted chat. And coffee for me is always, always, always best enjoyed with friends. I'm Karthik Nagarajan, and do share my table as I meet some of the most interesting people I know and sit them down for a strong cup of coffee and an even stronger conversation. Join me every Wednesday for a freshly brewed episode. This is not frappe. This is the Filter Coffee Podcast.
Advertising is dead. Yep, you heard me right. Advertising is dead. We're all in the content business now. Let's not call it news, TV, radio, etc., etc. It's all content, and we're in the middle of this weirdly exciting phase where all the borders and lines that have been drawn over decades has been swept away by this lovely thing called the internet. We're a show where we don't dwell on just the stuff that is now, but rather the wider stuff about advertising, media, content, and the whole goddamn circus surrounding it. Tune in every Tuesday for our weekly unboxing of the mystery box we used to call advertising. I'm Varun Dugirala, co-founder and content chief at The Glitch, and this is my new podcast, Advertising is Dead.